नमो नमस्ते गुरवे महात्मने विमुक्तसंगाय सदुत्तमाय नित्याद्वयानन्दरसस्वरूपिणे भूम्ने सदा पारदयाम्बुधाम्ने नमस्ते नमस्ते विभो विश्वमूर्ते नमस्ते नमस्ते चिदानन्दमूर्ते नमस्ते नमस्ते तपोयोगगम्य नमस्ते नमस्ते श्रुतिज्ञानगम्य नमस्ते नमस्ते तपोयोगगम्य नमस्ते नमस्ते श्रुतिज्ञानगम्य हरि ओम तत्सत् जय गुरु. I will first summarize whatever I spoke, whatever we discussed yesterday. The main points were: surrender does not mean that I shall not apply my willpower and discrimination and remain idle. This is very important. It's a common misconception that if we surrender, shall we not apply our intelligence, discrimination and all. It's absolutely opposite. It does not mean that we will not apply our willpower and discrimination, but that is what we have to apply. To surrender to the divine means to apply fullest self-effort to win over our slavery to the worldly likes and dislikes, to worldly attraction and repulsion. So it is not reducing our self-effort, but it needs the highest kind of, loftiest kind of self-effort. It is, we are generally slave to our lower prakriti, that is our lower nature, which is always guided by the ragadvesha towards the objects and objective situations. The world will remain the same, the world is not going to change, but the trouble is not really created by the world. Trouble is created by the ragadvesha we have in our mind. This is the most important point we should note. We are troubled by the world because not because of the trouble in the world. By becoming a knower or realizing the self, the world is not going to change. We are troubled because our mind is haunted by ragadvesha, attraction, repulsion, and clinging to what we like and hating what we dislike. That creates the disturbance in the mind. So we don't have to do anything with the world at all. We have to treat our mind so that the mind can be freed of the ragadvesha. So, the lower nature or lower prakriti means our slavery to the ragadvesha. We can say ragadvesha, bhaya, ahankara, all these come one after another. Because basically we call it kartritva and bhoktritva. Bhoktritva means ragadvesha, that we want always to enjoy what we like. We want to cling to what we like. We want to avoid or we hate what we dislike. That is the bhoktritva. That means the tendency always to enjoy and to get and gain what we like. And bhaya means, actually we can summarize the bhaya in a very short sentence, that bhaya means fear. What are all the fears we are suffering from? The fear of losing what we like and fear of facing what we dislike. The fear of losing what we like and the fear of facing what we dislike. Even fear of death comes under that, because we love to cling to life. We don't want to die. So we have the fear of death. We feel that the life will no more continue after death. That is why we are fearful of death. We cling to the likes in the life and we think that our desires will be fulfilled by remaining another 10 years or 20 years or 100 years or 1000 years. We think that we will one day become fulfilled. We don't analyze that by that never one becomes fulfilled. Yesterday I quoted Nachiketa's statement, Na vittena tarpaniyo manusho. Another, in the same shloka, there is another, the previous shloka, there is another statement of Nachiketa which I did not mention yesterday. Api sarvam jivitam alpameva. Api sarvam jivitam alpameva. Yamaraja said that I give you all the bounties of this earth and from the heaven, which any earthly denizen have never got it or cannot even hope to get it. See this chariot, this dance users and musicians, I have brought them from the heaven. They will all serve you. I give you the kingdom of the entire world. You rule for as many years as you like. I will give you ayus for 1000 years. And I will give you the strength to enjoy also. Because if you become old, all the indriyas get depleted. In that case, if the bhoga samagris, all the materials for enjoyment, they are in front. It is not a really enjoyment, it is a torture. When you are suffering from diabetes and you are given very good sweets, as our Das Babu used to do, then what happens? You are not able to take it. You like to take it, but you are not able to take it. So giving very good sweets to a diabetic patient is giving torture to him. Is it not so? So Yamaraja said that I will give you all the power of the sense organs also so that you can enjoy life for thousands of years. Nachiketa said, Api sarvam jivitam alpameva. Oh Yamaraja, for nobody, the span of the life makes him fulfilled. The fulfillment in life does not depend on the span of the life. Because even if you live 80 years or 100 years, still you want to have further bhoga. If you want to enjoy the world further, you will not like to die. So is it not insufficient? The lifespan of 100 years also insufficient for you. Are you able to understand? If you live for 40 years, but you are fulfilled, you don't have craving for further enjoyment, then any day the death comes, you are ready to embrace death even. But because our cravings are not fulfilled, we think that living a few more years we will be satisfied, but it never happens. Nachiketa says that Api sarvam jivitam alpameva. Whether the lifespan is 20 years or 40 years or 80 years or 100 years or 1000 years, the span is always insufficient, swalpam, not short. It is long, very long, 1000 years, but it is still swalpam, insufficiency we are suffering from. Yesterday I discussed. Our basic problem is the insufficiency. From birth we are suffering from insufficiency. That is why we run after things, run after enjoyments, thinking that that will make me sufficient. It never happens. Nobody has become fulfilled by running after wealth or any material enjoyment. It is the basic insufficiency which goes when we look within and find out our own real identity. Then only that gets fulfilled. So, to surrender to the divine means to apply the self-effort to get over this ragadvesha bhaya, to win over that, to win over the slavery to the worldly situation and worldly objects. This was the first point we discussed, where we also said then we have to be guided by the viveka buddhi. I gave you the example, the control is on the material situation. The material objects, the material situation, they are controlling our indriyas, our sense organs. The mind is guided by the preference and prejudice of the sense organs. So mind is slave to the indriyas. The indriyas are slave to the world objects. And the intelligence is also conniving to satisfy the cravings of the mind. So the whole control is on the material objects and material world. They are controlling the indriyas are controlling the mind is controlling the buddhi. In spirituality, you have to reverse the whole control. The buddhi has to be controlled by viveka buddhi, which comes from our real identity. Once we know what we are, actually we know, we don't agree. Everybody has got an inner voice which tells us what is good and what is bad. Can anybody deny? When you are doing something wrong, something in you is always telling that this is not the right thing. You will feel weak inside. You will feel small, constricted within. Will you not? Whenever we are doing something wrong. But it is our clinging to the some gain, clinging to the bhoga pravritti, as I said yesterday, that makes us not to heed to that inner voice. You cannot say that I don't have the inner voice. If I have not known the self, then what shall I do? You need not know the self. Everybody has got, because in reality we are the self. That is our real identity. So that truth is there in us. We are not heeding it only because we are slave to the attraction and repulsion of the world. We don't heed that inner voice. Spirituality makes us heed that inner voice more and more and more. How do you know that you are heeding? Look within and find out by what we will feel expanded within. I have the thumb rule, I said so many times, that we start from a small identity limited by body, mind, personality. We always fragment ourselves from the whole world. We think that we are small, fragmented, he is different from me, she is different from me. From a small concept about our identity we start. And spirituality takes us to the ultimate real identity where we understand that we are actually infinite. Even it is not just infinity, but it is still more. It is transcendental. We understand that I am the consciousness in which the whole universe appears to be. What is that universe? The whole universe which consists of my body, mind, personality as a small speck also. My body, mind, personality is a product of the earth. It is part of the universe, a very small, infinitesimal part of the universe. The whole universe which consists of the body, mind, personality, that is appearing in our consciousness, that even without knowledge also you can understand. The whole, whatever perceptions we have, it is all taking place in our consciousness. So when we know our real identity, we come to know that the whole universe which consists of our body, mind, personality is appearing to be in that consciousness. Then can we call that consciousness within me? Or we are in the consciousness. The whole universe is in the consciousness. How can we call the consciousness is within me? That is the real consciousness. I often give an example of a mirror. Suppose the light is coming from the sun. They are all straight coming down everywhere. I put a small mirror and put it at an angle. The reflected beam will be, with the reflected beam, we can see many objects. Can we not? We move it and we see various objects. Now the reflected beam, the quality also will depend on the mirror. Suppose the mirror is a colored mirror, then the reflected beam will be colored. If it is a distorted mirror, then the reflected beam will also show some distortion, some other things. So the properties of the seen world with that reflected beam will depend on the mirror. Now, think of the mirror. It is thinking that this light is my light. It is coming from within me. But is it true? Is it true? The light is coming from somewhere, and there might be millions of mirrors there. All are reflecting in a different manner, different angle, different ways. All the mirrors are reflecting. All the mirrors are thinking the light is within me and the light is coming from me. This is the delusion we are also suffering from. We think that the consciousness is from within this body-mind personality. Consider the mirror is our body-mind personality. In Sanskrit we call it Chidabhasa, where in Buddhi or Bodhi, the reflection of the consciousness is called Chit Abhasa. It is not the Chit. Chit is the truth, the consciousness. And the reflection of the consciousness is called Chit Abhasa. It is like the Chit, but it is not the real identity, the real Chit. But we think that that is my consciousness and it is limited by my body-mind personality. Am I clear, or it is difficult for you? Now think of turning the mirror towards the main light. When you turn it fully towards light, what has happened to the reflected beam? It has got merged in the original beam. It is no more seen there. It has got merged. That is what happens when we realize we have the Atma Sakshatkara, experience the self. We find that what I have been thinking as I as a separate being, that I has got merged in the infinite I. It is not segregated, it is not divided by the different mirrors at all. That I is transcendental. That light is one, infinite. I am thinking that it is only from my mirror. Mirror is thinking that it is from him. Another mirror is thinking it is from him. So all are thinking that my consciousness is different. Am I clear? If you can follow me, it will clear various misconceptions we are suffering from. What is death? When the mirror breaks, that is the death. Suppose the mirror breaks and it is no more able to produce the reflected beam. Has anything happened to the beam? The original beam, the light, nothing has happened. Only the mirror is not reflecting it, not able to reflect it anymore. So that mirror has died. That does not mean that the other mirrors also will die. The other mirrors are reflecting as such. When you put a little cover over the mirror, you don't see the reflected beam anymore. That is what happens in sleep. You put the cover and it is not reflecting the beam anymore. You are not seeing the world. Nothing you are knowing. Nothing is seen. You think that consciousness is not functioning. That consciousness remains the consciousness. Only the mirror is no more reflecting the consciousness. In the morning you remove the cover. The mirror again reflects. And we see the world again. So, the real consciousness does not get affected by anything happening to the body, mind, personality. That is our real consciousness. That is what everybody is. We are all that one transcendental, we call it infinite, but it is transcendental consciousness. We are all that consciousness in which the whole world is appearing to be. So that is our real identity, and this identity is true of everybody. So nobody can say that I don't have the inner voice. The inner voice is coming from there. And the joy is the property, is a characteristic, is a parameter of that real identity. We are missing that. That is why we are running after joy, thinking that, getting that I will become joyous forever. Do you get my point? We are running after small joys, and all those ananda, small joy, they are not able to satisfy. Because again something happens. Once we get one which I desired, immediately the desire is fulfilled. The other desires come in. The new desires come in. So we are never joyous. Always the desires remain unfulfilled. One desire might have got fulfilled. The another desire will come. They will again agitate us. So we are always looking for this joy because our nature is that joy. That is why I said yesterday, Anandadhyeva khalvimani bhutani jayante. This is our Rishi's statement, not a statement. It is an experimental discovery they have recorded in the Shastras, that we are all born of Ananda. In reality, we are the self, and which has the parameter as Ananda. So if this is our true nature, then what prevents us from getting back to our real nature? As the river gets back to the sea, can we not get back to our sea dimension? It is only prevented only by our raga dvesha, or clinging to what we like, our hatred towards what we dislike. We are disturbing our mind, distracting our mind, agitating our mind, polluting our mind by this raga dvesha. He did this, he did that. Yesterday I could not give the proper reply. I will build up my argument. Tomorrow I will say, In the meeting I will see who can reply me. All these things we are creating. By that what will happen? By blaming others, by criticizing others, are we not polluting our own mind? It is in our hand. That pollution we can easily remove. We can think good of others, we can think lovingly about others, we can think liberally about others. We will become happy, we will become joyous. But habit does not allow us to do it. We are always finding fault with others, blaming others. By that polluting our mind. Nothing happens to the other person whom I am blaming. My mind is only getting polluted. I am only suffering because of that. I am becoming stressful. This is what is happening. So, to be guided by the Viveka Buddhi is the self-effort we discussed yesterday. The self-effort is to always to heed to the Viveka Buddhi, always be guided by the Viveka Buddhi, that inner voice from where it is always coming. I started all these discussions from one point which I forgot, that I said, how do you know that we are hearing, we are listening to the inner voice? Look within, we will find whatever gives us expansion, strength, that is the real direction of the inner voice. Why? Because the soul is infinite, our real identity is infinite. Anything that expands our mind, expands our inside, that takes us closer to the soul. We come closer to the soul by expanding, not by constricting ourselves, not by contracting. Whenever we are constricted, we are contracted, we are detaching ourselves from the real identity, and we are making ourselves small. That is what we are doing with our ego, our ahankara. It is always separating. The yoga is not to separate like this. There is nothing, no yoga we have to do really. Because we are the soul, we don't have to really have any yoga. We have created the yoga. By our own ego, we have got separated from that real, infinite, unfragmented identity, and we are crying and weeping and wailing. We only have to remove that so that we get back to our real identity. We become what we are. Then we understand that we don't have to surrender anymore. We are already surrendered. What I am the infinite consciousness in which the whole universe is appearing to be, in which my body-mind personality is playing its role with whatever merits it has. It has its some merits. Each body-mind personality has got a different constitution. It has its own characteristics. According to that, it is playing in that world. As I said yesterday, that the earth is going around the sun, the moon is going around the earth, the plants are growing, some are green, some are yellow, some are red, flowers are blossoming, grass flowers are blossoming, the animals are having their own life. Like that, the human being with their special merits also, their willpower, which is very special in human beings. Nobody else on earth has changed the earth. Only human beings have done, because they have this special willpower to analyze and change the situation. With that also, they will live their life naturally, free of desires, depending on the merits, the characteristics they have. That he will know that we are surrendered, there is nothing to surrender anymore. Now, yesterday also I discussed in a practical manner what are the tests of surrender. We say surrender, surrender, surrender. We often say surrender, surrender. It's a very well publicized self-deception that we suffer from, the whole society suffers from. We say we surrender, we have surrendered, but actually it is not so. We often refer to our Bengalis are very fond of Ramakrishna Dev's statement, but they use the statements in very clever manner as self-deception. That I often had been talking about one person in IIT Kharagpur, in the market. Generally there people used to go to the market in the morning, it is in the campus, they would go to the market. And we were having Upanishadic classes in the same campus in the morning. So every morning those who are fond of Shastric studies and all, they used to go to the Upanishadic class. One sannyasin was there from Rishikesh who used to take the class. Everybody would go there. Everybody, only few, 4 or 5 of the whole institute. There were 1500 employees, of which 4 or 5 used to go for the class. After the class is over, they would take breakfast and go to the institute. This was the routine. So suppose in the market you tell somebody that, why are you not coming? It is such a good class. He is teaching so well. Why don't you come? At least one day you come. The person will say, don't you know, Ramakrishna Dev has said that if God doesn't will, even a leaf will not move on the tree. জানো না, ঠাকুর বলেছে যে গাছের পাতাটিও নড়বে না, তার ইচ্ছা না হলে গাছের পাতাটিও নড়বে না। ঠাকুর বলেছেন। হু ঠাকুর? Ramakrishna Dev. He is quoting Ramakrishna Dev. Ramakrishna Dev said that. Okay, he said that. So you are coming to the market, you don't have to, God doesn't have to will. You are buying all the materials, eating, overeating, spoiling your stomach also, God doesn't have to will. Only for going to the class, the God has to will. This is how we deceive ourselves. Another statement commonly said is that, often the householders will say, you don't know, Ramakrishna Dev has said, Ma, amake roshe boshe rakhish. Ma, amake roshe boshe rakhish. Roshe means rasa, and vasha means control. Ramakrishna Dev has said that, oh Mother Kali, you keep me under rasa and vasha. That means you keep me sensitive to the river. Don't make me a stone who does not understand anything of the world. I must be sensitive to the world. Everything I should know. The dukkha as well as sukha. I should enjoy both. I should accept both. That is what is meant by rasa. And vasha means that control. That within, I must be disciplined. I should not wail in dukkha and try to avoid dukkha. I should accept dukkha as it is. And I should not become elated in sukha. I should accept the sukha also when it comes. So rasa and vasha, they are quoting. But actually what they mean is rasa, not the vasha. I have to tell it. They don't mean vasha, they mean only rasa, because they want rasa, and to defend their position, they are quoting Thakur, say that he said, Ma amake rase vashe rakhish. Vasha nobody wants, they only want rasa. This is how we deceive. That deception has to go. Spirituality means no more self-deception. By deceiving, who is gaining? Only we are losing. The person who deceives himself, he loses. There is nothing else. So, the test of surrender is extremely important. Yesterday I mentioned, again I will summarize, the test of surrender is a feeling, firstly it is a feeling of refuge within. That is, if I have surrendered to the Almighty, who knows everything, who is all-powerful, who knows where lies my welfare. So whatever happens to me, it is given by the Lord. So it must be for my welfare. Even if I lose my dearest person, we must have, if I have surrendered, I will think that Lord has given me this fate because there lies my auspicious goal. It will take me only to auspiciousness. If I lose my job, if I am taken to the jail, then also we will think that this is what the Lord wanted. He has given me this so that I am taken to the auspicious goal. So this refuge, the feeling of refuge must be there within. That I have taken refuge. Ashraya bodha, yesterday I said. It is the ashraya bodha. That ashraya bodha has to be felt within. If you have surrendered, then that ashraya bodha, the feeling of refuge, has to be a real feeling inside. It has to be an experience within. That I have the refuge. I have taken refuge to the mightiest power in the world. Much more than the worldly powers. So what can I fear? What can I expect? Nothing. I have taken refuge in the hands of the Lord. This feeling of refuge. Now, further, this feeling of this refuge, what does it mean when you translate further to the behavioral part? It means no feeling of want. We are always suffering from the feeling of lack, want, insufficiency. He has not praised me. He has not appreciated what I have done. What are these? These are all insufficiency. I haven't got a promotion which I deserved. Feeling of insufficiency, feeling of want. Always we are suffering from feeling of insufficiency, want. If I have taken a refuge, if I have surrendered, then I must not have the feeling of refuge, a feeling of insufficiency, feeling of lack, feeling of want, even feeling of ragadvesha. Because ragadvesha is what? That is, I want what I like, I want to cling to what I like, I detest, I don't like what I dislike, I don't want to face what I dislike. So when somebody comes whom I do not like, I have a problem. But he has come, I have to look into his needs or whatever to be done. I should not have a hatred towards him. So this so this feeling of refuge must get translated in the form of a great sufficiency, confidence. Yesterday we discussed it as nirapekshata. I discussed quite a lot. Nirapekshata. Nirapeksham munim shantam nirvairam samadarshanam anuvrajamyaham nityam puyetyangri renubhi. Yesterday I explained that the nirapeksham, that nirapekshata of a seeker is given the highest position, that even the Lord follows such a devotee, so that the Lord can purify himself with the dust of that devotee who is non-expectant, who does not expect anything from anybody, from anywhere, anytime in the world. Anything from anybody or anywhere, anytime in the world. No expectation at all. Such a person, what will he fear? What will he be anxious of? He will fear nothing. He will be confident. It's much more than Himalayan confidence he will have. I said that I am speaking in terms of superlative degree. It need not be. But you can always judge whether I am on that path or not. How much I was having the feeling of want, insufficiency, lack 1 year ago, and how much I am having now. How much I used to get disturbed by the ragadvesha, hatred towards the people I dislike, and the clinging towards the people I like. How much my mind was getting disturbed 1 year ago, and how much I am getting disturbed now. We can always judge. And if it is becoming less, the disturbances, the distractions, the agitations are becoming less, then I am progressing. Otherwise, I am going the reverse way. We can always test whether I am progressing or not. On all these things, this feeling of refuge, it will finally take to a feeling which is called prasada. I am coming back to the Bhagavadgeeta now. He is saying, ragadvesha viyuktaistu vishayan indriyaischaran atmavashair vidheyatma prasadam adhigacchati. I think it is 2.64. No? 2.64. Second chapter, 64th verse. He is saying, ragadvesha viyuktaistu vishayan indriyaischaran atmavashair vidheyatma prasadam adhigacchati. Prasada, there is no English term. We use the term placidity. Prasada. We go to a saint to ask for prasada. Swamiji every day is giving some mithai, some shakkarpara. That is to fool you. With that sweet, I have got the prasada. That is not the real prasada from a saint. The real prasada of a saint is part of his mind. Whenever we are going to a saint, we get a touch of his prasada which is there in his mind. His mind is always established in this prasada. The placidity. Placidity, you understand? It is close to that. Prasada is much more than that. So the material prasada is only for fooling us, nothing else. Because we don't get the prasada going to a saint. That is why just after prostrating before or listening to the saints, we again start talking about the worldly things with halla gulla, and finally the saint has to scold us, saying that why are you talking? Actually the real prasada is to be had by us through a mental superposition. When we go near a saint, a peace should dawn in our mind, a placidity should dawn in our mind. Why are we calling it prasada? Because it is the same in sukha as well as dukkha. It is not true that the dukkha is not there for jnani. For a knower also, the dukkha is much more than what dukkha you have. Both sukha, dukkha are there. But he doesn't get elated in sukha. He doesn't get depressed in dukkha. He is beyond the elation and depression, not beyond sukha and dukkha. Otherwise, Bhagavadgeeta would not have said that sukha dukkhe same kritva. Where is the samatva? If sukha is not there, dukkha is not there, then samatva in what? Samatva doesn't mean anything. Because sukha is there, dukkha is also there. The evenness of the mind in both is the samatva. So prasada is that which remains steadily in sukha as well as in dukkha. I will give you an example. Often I say, this is the same example I quote always. You go to see a film, sometimes the films are tragic, like Pathet Pachali, and there are so many English films also, where only pathos and tragedy is there. We read so many books, the famous books which are tragedies. In seeing such films, are we not shedding tears profusely? While seeing such pathos, are we not shedding tears profusely? By feeling the dukkha which is pictured there. We are paying money and shedding tears. But the same thing when happens in our family, then we don't want to have it. We start wailing that, why God you have put me in this condition? There are so many other people who are worse than me. They are happily living. Why have you put me in this? So much of complaint and wailing is there. But the same situation when we are reading in a book or seeing in a film, we are shedding tears. In shedding tears, we are enjoying the dukkha, are we not? Don't say that we cannot enjoy dukkha. We can enjoy the dukkha, and that is a more enjoyment. That enjoyment is deeper than the enjoyment in sukha. Is it not so? Dukkha makes our mind deeper. If we can sympathize in dukkha, that will make our mind deeper. That will give us a deeper enjoyment. That is called prasada. It is neither enjoyment nor depression. It is the prasada. So, ragadvesha viyuktaistu vishayan indriyeshcharan atmavashyair vidhe atma prasadam adhigacchati. The person who is freed of ragadvesha, he moves around in the world in the same manner like the others. He interacts with everything in the world. Vishayan indriyeshcharan, with his indriyas, he is going around in the world, in the same world. But there is a difference. Atmavashyahi vidheya atma. Atmavashya means his vasha is from his real identity. He is under the control of his identity. Just in the beginning I said that the control has to be reversed. We are controlled by the material object. We have to reverse the control and put the control in the hand of the soul, in our viveka buddhi. So Atmavashya means who is under the vash of his viveka buddhi, under the vasha of his soul, of his real identity. Atmavashya. Such a person is called vidheya atma. He is disciplined, but it is not an external discipline, outer control. No control is necessary. He is disciplined by the inner harmony. He is always in harmony with the fundamental rhythm of nature. That is where we call surrender. That is the meaning of surrender. When we are simply floating with the fundamental harmony, the fundamental rhythm of nature, that is our soul. He is always anchored to the soul. Even if we are interacting, we can remain anchored to the soul. And for that, we have to deal with our ragadvesha. Unless we are able to free our mind of ragadvesha, this will not happen. A person may read all the Upanishads, all the Vedas, they can say whatever about all the theories of the soul and Brahman and what not. But he will not have prasada, he will not become a knower until his mind becomes free of the ragadvesha. Because that is what is creating the difference, that is what is constricting the mind, separating the mind, fragmenting the mind from its real identity, the soul. That is why knowing everything also We will not become, because what are we knowing? What is this concept of the soul? It is about our own identity. So it has to become real of us. The soul is untainted, never affected by anything. We are saying that. But what is that soul? That is my real identity. Until I feel that in the deepest core of my heart, the real identity never gets tarnished by anything happening in the world, this will not become true of me, because the truth is about our own soul. So this was the discussion we had. Actually, we should remember that this ragadvesha viyukta istu, just now what I said, it is coming in reply to Arjuna's question, which I said that Sita prajnasya ka bhashast samadhisthasya keshava sitadhi kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. So after replying that what happens to the person who comes to know the truth of his real identity, that was the discussion there, the Sthita Prajna Darshana. At the end of it, he said, the last verse was 2.61, Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha vashehi yasyendriyani tasya prajna pratisthita. It is all speaking about self-effort. That one who has disciplined everything, by what? By fixing his mind on the real identity, he becomes the Sthita Prajna. After saying this, he is coming down how one has to become. Because later on he has replied that it is the kama which does not allow the mind to be fixed on the soul. He had asked that why people are behaving in a constricted manner, papam charati purushaha. Why are they behaving in a constricted manner, in a wrong manner? He said, kama esha, krodha esha, rajoguna samudbhava. There he had said. Now that kama, he is giving a great hint here. He says, dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho vijayate. He says that kama, the desire, is not the original problem. This is a great hint of Bhagavadgeeta. We should not miss it. We always think that we are born with desire of Purva Janma and all sorts of theories are there. We are born with that desire, and so the desire is there. He says no. He says, dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate. By constantly meditating on the Vishaya, on the small fragmented objects, the objects of likes and dislikes, the objects of Indriya enjoyment, the objective situations and objects which we cling to, we hate. By constantly thinking of that, dhyayato, as if we are meditating on this worldly attraction and repulsion throughout the day. Look into your mind, are you not? Throughout the day, what are we doing? We are always meditating on this small, either attraction or repulsion, either clinging to something or hating something. Somebody said something, somebody did something. This is our mind is occupied with. The mind hours we are spending, that is, the mind is constantly given to hours after hours on these fragmented thoughts. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate. By thinking of a certain thing, we develop sangha towards that. That is called the sangha. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. So kama is not the cause, but the effect. This is what I wanted to point out. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. By this sangha, the kama is born. I will give you a simple example. When there was no car, was there any desire for car for anybody? When there appeared some cars and you found them moving around, you wanted to have. After some day, every day thinking, one day perhaps the friend asked you to get into the car and then you got into it, then found that, it is very good, I have been riding a bicycle, now it is much better. Then you start having a desire for the car, finally you buy a car. Earlier we were much happy because we had only Landmaster and Ambassador to look into, Ambassador and Fiat. Nothing else was there. So people were happy having a Fiat or an Ambassador. Now after the foreign companies came, nobody is happy with the best of the car also. You have one, what is it called? Some Swift or something. And the neighbor is having a BMW. Every day you see a BMW. Slowly that Sangha, by the spending of mind hours on that. Oh, one day perhaps he invites you to get into the car. हो गया, बस. Oh, ये इतना एकदम jerk नहीं है, बहुत अच्छा है. Why not we also have it? So the desire is getting born by constantly thinking. That is what the advertisers are also exploiting us. By giving all kinds of, yesterday Swamiji was saying somewhere, that a nude photograph. Actually it is an advertisement for something else. Maybe even Ayurvedic tonic or something. But they are showing a nude or half nude woman. Because they know that the mind will be clinging to that. And maybe it is a car advertisement. That woman is sitting in the car and finally going, seeing that you also feel that the young people will feel that if I have this car, one day I will have such a fiancé who will travel with me. All this, the mind will start thinking in that manner. Thinking, the desire for that will grow. So it's a great hint given by Bhagavadgeeta that dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate. The sangha and sangat sanjayate kamaha. This clinging, sangha means this clinging. By constantly, repeatedly thinking, we develop the clinging to that object. And because of that clinging, the desire for that object gets born. Then there are further steps. Kamat, krodho vijayate, etc. I am not going into that. Now here, just the reverse of it, we will get the sadhana needed also. As they are saying, dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate. That thinking of the vishaya, thinking of the material objects, repeatedly thinking about the material objects, we develop a clinging towards that. Similarly, why don't you spend your mind hours on good things? Thinking of the soul, what will happen? Mind will develop the characteristics of the soul. The soul is untainted, soul never gets affected. There is no stress, even if there is a nuclear bomb blast, or even if the whole universe gets destroyed, nothing happens to the soul. Then why am I getting always distracted? Even if somebody says something wrong which I have not done, immediately my mind starts fuming. Why is it happening? If we think in that manner and constantly, that is the clue to the sadhana, that spending more and more mind hours on the soul, on the Brahman, on the scriptures which are discussing this, mind hours on the saints' life story, where the great qualities are discussed, their glories, their actions, everything is discussed. By thinking of the good, thinking of the noble habits, lofty thoughts, our mind will get filled with the lofty thoughts, the mind will get purified, the mind will get sangha towards the sat. That is why we call satsang. It is satsanga. By thinking about the sat, the truth, the ultimate truth, we will develop attachment towards truth, satsanga. So this is the sadhana for that. I have come only half the way. There is only 20 minutes left. Okay, I will continue with the next part. That yesterday I introduced that there are two kinds of sadhana, and I also said that we will discuss how the surrender and self-effort works there. The two sadhanas we discussed were interactional and non-interactional. Now, how does surrender play the role in non-interactional sadhana? Non-interactional, I said that it is meditation, contemplation, reading the Shastras when you are not interacting with the world. Now, initially, the self-effort is necessary to make you devote your time for this meditation, sadhana or contemplation and all, leaving all other things. That's normally the worldly things will distract, as everybody says that I don't have time for meditation. Actually, Their mind is always dragged by the worldly attractions, repulsions. Now, the self-effort is necessary to keep the mind away from the world at least for an hour of the day, of 24 hours. Let us keep at least 1 hour away from the worldly attractions and repulsions and give it to spend that hour, the mind, for that hour, give the mind the association of the truth, of the Sat, of the soul. So, when we develop that, slowly by giving that, spending mind hours on the truth of the soul, a desire for self-realization gets born. Mark my word. Desire for self-realization gets born. That is also a desire. But that desire for self-realization is helping all other desires to keep away all other desires. The desire for self-realization, when it becomes strong, it will help you to keep away all other desires from your mind. So it is absolutely essential in the beginning to have this desire for self-realization, because that desire will make the self-effort applied to this self-realization. There you have to apply your willpower to sit for meditation, to read the Shastras, to contemplate on it, to come to the satsang, to spend hours in the satsang. All these things you have to do. But finally, if you are a seeker of self-realization, this desire also will become hindrance. It will also become a hindrance finally. Because suppose you are trying to reach your real identity, the self. You are looking within, you start looking within. I will not go very much into the detail, in short, in brief. You are looking within. So you understand that the body I am seeing, the body is revealed. It is not the revealer. My mind, my consciousness is revealing the body. We may see, we may touch, but finally where it is revealed? Not by the eyes. Finally it has to appear in our mind. Whatever we are perceiving, it has to appear in our consciousness, in our mind. Otherwise we will not know it. So the body is finally revealed by our consciousness, by me, I, the consciousness. So the subject I, the revealer of the body, is different from the body. Body is an object. And I, the consciousness, is the subject. Is there any difficulty in understanding it? Then you go within further. I see the thoughts coming in. Mother's thought has come, good thought has come, bad thought has come, great thoughts have come. All these thoughts I am seeing. I am seeing means not with the eyes, but I am perceiving them within me. So they are different from me. They are objects. They are subtle objects, of course. They are not material objects. But they are also object before the consciousness I. I am seeing the thoughts. The thoughts are changing, but I is not changing. That is why I am able to know the changes taking place in the thoughts. The body is changing, but I am not changing. The body was small, it has grown, it has become old. These changes have been perceived because I have not changed. The thoughts are changing, that I is not changing. That is why I am able to see the changes going on in the mind. Similarly, the intelligence. I am seeing the intelligence. It was dull. Today it is sharp. Again it has become dull. All these changes of the intelligence, the I am seeing. My consciousness is seeing. So I am the subject. The intelligence is an object before me. Is it not so? So who is that subject? Now when we try to locate or to discover this subject, I, what happens is that our habit prevails. What is our habit? We are given always to see something different from me. The whatever is revealed, the bag is there. I am seeing the bag. The consciousness is getting engaged in the bag. We are always seeing something different from me. So when we want to discover, be very attentive, only then you will understand. When we want to discover the self, we try to discover the self as something coming before my mind or before my consciousness. I want to discover. As I discover say here is a lizard here, I discover it is different from me. Or a thought, it is different from me. When I am trying to discover the self, by our habit, we are trying to discover the self as something I will know, this is the self. This is the consciousness. I want to know it as that. Is it not so? But can it be the self? Then, if this is the self, it is again revealed by me. It is an object before me. By our very effort to discover the self as something before me, we are objectivizing the subject. Am I clear? The self is a subject. By trying to understand it like other concepts of physics, chemistry, mathematics, or world, anything in the world or anything in the mind, trying to understand the self as different from me, it will never be the self, it is different from me. That very effort to discover the self is making the self different from the self, making the self non-self. नहीं, ठीक नहीं है. The very effort to discover the self is making the self non-self. That is, if I am able to see something, that is not the self. The self cannot be seen as different from me. So what am I supposed to do? We have to leave all effort. We have to drop all effort. That is what I yesterday discussed. Prayatna Shaithilya. Effortlessness. And how do you do it? You finally say that you surrender before your Guru or the power, Guru Shakti or the Lord. I don't know how to go about it. I leave everything, O Lord, O Guru. I leave everything in your hand. Take me wherever I am no more interested in self-realization also. If the realization has to be had, let it come to me. If it is not have to be had, then also it is okay. I don't want anything at all. This is the first time we go beyond the insufficiency which we have been suffering from, the disease of insufficiency since birth. Do you get my point? We always want something. Even the wanting the self-realization, wanting to discover the self is an insufficiency of the mind. It's a desire. When we leave that also, we surrender that also, that whether I become self-realized or not, it doesn't matter. I will only go on pursuing the path. Let the Lord lead me wherever He feels. Let Guru or the Guru Shakti, the power, lead me wherever I have to go. When we surrender really, then the self reveals itself. Yamevaisha vrinute tena labhyaha tasyaisha atma vivrinute tanum swam. Yesterday I discussed. We do the varana for the self, and in that we forget the whole world, forget our own personality, forget our desire for self-realization also, forget self-realization also. We forget everything. Then the self reveals itself. Tasya esha atma vivrinute tanum swam. Tasya esha atma swam tanum vivrinute. The self reveals itself. So the ultimate point is struck by surrender again. Although the self-effort is absolutely essential, which takes us to that ultimate step. But there, the surrender is the goal. In Kathopanishad it is said, Yada panchavatishtante jnanani manasa saha buddhischana vicheshtate tam ahu paramam gatim. Tam ahu paramam gatim. That is the supreme state. Which is the supreme state? Yada, some mobile is singing. See, this is very deep something we are discussing. We have to be attentive. Yada panchavatishtante jnanani manasa saha. When all the 5 indriyas, sense organs of perception, avatishtante, they are all still. Mind you, they are not sleeping. In sleep they are not awake. When we are in deep sleep, the indriyas are not awake. They are all sleeping. They cannot see anything. They cannot know anything. Here it is not that. He is saying, Yada panchavatishtante, avatishtante. They are all there. but not moving, not doing anything, absolutely still. Jnanani, that is all the jnanendriyas, the 5 jnanendriyas, they are all still, they are awake, they are not sleeping, but they are not moving. Just like our legs now, they are not moving. Like that the indriyas are also awake, but not doing anything. Manasasaha, even the mind, it is also not engaged in anything, but it is not sleeping. In deep sleep, the mind also is sleeping. Mind also is not there in deep sleep. Here, the mind is awake, but there is no thought. It is not acting at all. Buddhishtana vicheshtate, no effort of the buddhi. Is this the self? Is this not? That is also gone. That is an effort of the buddhi to understand. No effort from the buddhi also. But buddhi is not sleeping. The intelligence is not sleeping. It is wide awake, but not doing anything. All the 5 sense organs, the mind, the intelligence, everything is awake, but they are not doing anything. What is the meaning of doing? Whenever they reveal anything, they get engaged in that. When the glass is revealed, the consciousness is getting engaged in the glass. Our focus is on the glass, we miss the consciousness. When the thought is revealed, the focus is on the thought, we miss the revealer which reveals the thought. In this case, the consciousness is not getting engaged in anything at all. It is not revealing anything in the world, anything in the personality. Nothing is there, zero. But it is not sleeping. It is wide awake. Then, because it is not getting engaged by anything, it is not becoming small in revealing anything, it reveals itself. We come to know the revealer. It reveals itself at that point. That is why it is called Tamahu Paramam Gatim. Yada panchavatishtante jnanani manasasaha buddhishtana vicheshtate tamahu paramam gatim. He says in the next shloka, tam yogamiti manyante sthiram indriya dharanam. It is not the sleeping of the indriyas, but to holding them non-functional. Apramattastada bhavati yogo hi prabhavapyayo. Apramattaha. Pramada means inattention. Pramatta means who is inattentive. Apramattaha means he becomes attentive. We are, that is why in all our sadhana, attention is called for. Because what we are missing is attention. Because of lack of attention, we are missing the truth. Because of lack of attention, we are missing our consciousness. Because of lack of attention, we are missing the revealer. So this is the state of supreme attention, he is saying. Why? Because in that, the revealer comes to be known. And once we know it, Kena Upanishad says, Pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate. He comes to know that by every perception that revealer is revealed. Although first discovery, we have to make it first-hand discovery when in this state, which is called samadhi. In this state, when the revealer reveals itself. But once we come to know that revealer, then the whole world is appearing in that consciousness. And in every perception we have in the world, that perception is happening in the consciousness, by the consciousness. That consciousness is the only thing there. So we cannot anymore miss the revealer. So Kena Upanishad says, then when the revealer is known in every perception, then man becomes immortal. Pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate. In Bhagavadgeeta, the same state is spoken of as Yatha deepo nivatastho nengate sopama smrita yogino yatachittasya yunjato yogamatmanaha. This state is defined with an illustration of in the first one there is no illustration. They have, in the Kathopanishad shloka, there is no illustration given. They have just given the statement of fact, what happens, and which is called the supreme state. And that is the state of supreme attention, they said. Here it is giving an example of a lamp which is burning when there is no wind at all. The flame does not flicker anymore. But the flame is there. It is not flickering. The flame is there. The radiation is coming. The silent radiation is still, it is radiating from the flame. Like that, from the soul, the radiation will propagate, and that will reveal itself. Now this is how I said that the surrender helps in the non-interactional sadhana. The ultimate step, the ultimate level is clicked by the sadhana, by surrender. Now surrender in interactional sadhana, that is the main topic of Bhagavadgeeta. Bhagavadgeeta is speaking about the different kinds of practices it has given. The main yoga of Bhagavadgeeta is Samatva Yoga, which Swamiji has discussed in detail. The definition is given in 2.48 in the second chapter, 48th verse. Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. We should not miss the language. They have said samatvam yoga uchyate. Yoga is defined as samatva. So we always say karma yoga. No, he has defined yoga as samatva. Now what is that samatva? Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva. He says that remaining even-minded in siddhi and asiddhi, that is called samatva. Now does it mean that we will not work for siddhi? No. When we are opening a factory, we have to plan it well, what product we want. According to that, we have to make all the arrangements, get all the advices from the experts, consultants. Everything we have to do. We have to plan very well. But suppose after everything is done, the result is not according to the deserved result, then we should not lose our heart and start wailing or committing suicide or getting depressed about it. Nothing like that. That means it is a readiness of the mind to accept the ishta and anishta, or a mixture of the two. It doesn't mean that we will not work for the success. Rather, it will allow us to work much more efficiently for the success. Because what happens generally is, because before we plan it, we are thinking of the result. This will produce this, and I will become a millionaire, and I will become one of the 10 richest person. All those things we are plugging to the gain from the final effort, and that is not allowing us to plan it properly. Often we become fearful of losing the money also. Oh, I have collected only 1 million I have. If I open this factory, I will lose that also if it doesn't succeed. And suddenly the steel price falls and I will lose everything. So he will not be courageous to undertake that practice at all. Here, by going into the pros and cons and all the parameters, whatever can be perceived and whatever consultations can be taken, if it appears to be a good pursuit which can be taken up, we will pursue it. We will not get disturbed by what will happen to me if I fail. There the evenness of the mind is not there. We are not ready to accept the failure. Suppose I have cultivators. So many cultivators committed suicide here last year. I have collected the best of the seeds. We have done the best of the watering and everything we did. We got very good crop, paddy. But flood came and destroyed everything. And then they commit suicide. It is in the nature of the thing that it may fail also. So when we finally take to the ultimate, this samatva pursuit, what happens is same as the surrender, because we are ready, we are making our mind ready to accept any eventuality. Is it not same as surrender? The mind will be free of all stress there also. Similarly, the jajna is another pursuit recommended in Bhagavad-Gita, that whatever we do, think that my body-mind personality, which is part of the whole universe is the jajna of the Lord. In that huge, infinite jajna, whatever my body-mind personality is doing is a small contribution. That is also a jajna. If we always do in that manner, what will happen? It is the same as surrender. We will do whatever merits we have, whatever is the need of the society. According to that, whatever we can contribute, we contribute. Wherever there is success, there will be success. Wherever we cannot be successful, there will be failure. We will accept that, because it is in the nature of the universal yajna of the Lord. In that sense, we will do whatever we are doing. And the last one they have suggested is, in Bhagavad-Gita, in the 14th chapter, he says that our pursuit should be finally taking us to the gunatita level. He has discussed the 3 gunas, that we are under the clutch of sattva, rajas, tamas. Each guna binds in its own manner. The tamas binds us by ignorance, the rajas binds us by ego and fragmented outlook, and sattva binds us by its sukha and illumination, knowledge also. All the gunas bind us. So in the process of our sadhana, first we overcome the slavery of the tamas by cultivating rajas and sattva. Because rajas is opposite to tamas. Tamas is idleness, ignorance. Rajas is activity, and sattva is knowledge. So both are applied to get over the tamasikata. Then once we are in the clutch of the rajas, which most of us are, the rajas is always fragmenting the world. It is giving us the energy to work, but work egoistically. He is always having the kartritva and bhoktritva. I did this, I did that. I had so much of experience, I will do this. I have done so many great work. Or in another manner, I have done something sinful, I suffer because of that. Or I will do this, I will do that. This is called kartritva. And bhoktritva, by doing this, I will enjoy fame, I will enjoy name, I will enjoy property. These are the characteristics of a rajasic personality. To overcome that, we have to incorporate sattva guna, which gives a comprehensive, uniform vision that the whole universe is a play in oneness. So always in the fragmented world, look for the one, unity in diversity, as we say. So that will take away the rajasika tendencies from us. We will become sattvaguni. But the sattva will bind us by its illuminating power, enlightening power, and its sukha. Sukha means a prasada feeling will be there, a sort of because the knowledge will give us peace. That sattvaguni will always look for peace and enlightenment. That is also a bondage. So how to get rid of it? We have to get beyond the sattva also. Then only we can reach the gunatita level, where we can understand that the whole world is a play of the gunas, and I am not touched by anything at all. So Srimad Bhagavata says how it has to be won. He says again about surrender. Sattvam chabhijayet yukto nairapekshena shantadhihi sampadyate gunair mukto jivo jivam vihayamam. He says again that nairapekshena. Because when we are in the clutch of sattva guna, the whole world will torture us like anything. We will not be able to sustain the world, because the world is not sattva guna. There will be criminality, there will be torture, there will be so many other things. So we have to get beyond all those. Again, nairapekshat. Whatever comes, be it sattva guna, rajoguna, tamoguna, I am not touched by them. Everything is playing as part of nature. My body-mind personality being a small part in nature, it is doing its activity, undergoing the play of all the 3 gunas. I am not touched by them at all. So Bhagavatam says that he will get over that clutch of sattva, which binds us by sukha sangha and jnana sangha. Bhagavad-Gita says it binds us by sukha sangha and jnana sangha. That sangha also has to be overcome. And for that, nairapeksha, that is surrender, non-expectation, not expecting anything, or the other way, accepting everything. That will take us beyond that. So with that, the Bhagavadgeeta ends the second chapter with the imagery of the ocean, that we have to become like the ocean, accepting everything and leaving whatever goes. What does the ocean do? Whatever the sun shines on it and the evaporation takes place, from that the rivers come, the rivers flow unto the ocean and it accepts the rivers. Some rivers are coming with pure water, like good holy rivers. Some rivers are coming with absolutely dirty water, polluted water. The sea, the ocean never says that you don't come, I don't allow you to get into me. It never runs after the Ganges and says that no, I will follow you, you are pure. It doesn't go along the Ganges. It accepts the Ganges, it accepts all the rivers, it accepts the dirty nalas also, the drains also, the filthy water also. And everything goes into it, gets mixed with the salinity of the water and finally becomes the sea. You can no longer point out, here is the Nala, here is the Ganges, here is the Yamuna. Nothing can be pointed out at all. It remains established in its own real identity. Apuriyamanam achala pratishtham samudram apaha pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamahayam pravishanti sarve sa shanti mapnoti na kama kami. He says kama kami, those who are desirous of small things and runs after those who run after the small desireful things, they never get satisfied. Na kama kami, they never gets peace. But apuryamanam achala pratishtham samudram apaha pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamahayam pravishanti sarve sa shanti mapnoti na kama kami. One who remains like the ocean, accepting whatever inputs comes from the world. Some are good, some are bad, some are dirty, some are clear, pure. He never refuses anything. He allows everything. He accepts everything that is possible in nature, remaining himself pure, infinite, accepting everything. He attains peace. Na kama kami. Swarajya samrajya vibhutiresha bhavat kripa shri mahima prasadat prapta maya shri gurave mahatmani namo namastestu punarnamostu namo namastestu punarnamostu namo namastestu punarnamostu namastasmai sadaikasmai kasmai chinmahase namaha yadetat vishvarupena rajate guru rajate yadetat vishvarupena rajate guru rajate. Hari.